Why do we all have emotional traumas? Now, maybe this might sound absurd to you. If you're an ordinary person, we all have traumas in some way, shape, or form. They're all subconscious, they're all unconscious, because when we have them, we just learn to put them in our subconscious. We just learn to suppress them right away, right? That's just a defense mechanism by our minds and bodies to protect us. We don't want to feel this trauma again, so we suppress it. And just subconsciously, we're always trying to avoid the situation that traumatized us. For example, if you were traumatized as a child, you asked a girl out when you were 7 years old and she rejected you and the whole school knew, everyone knew about it. And then that's really traumatic, right? When you were 7, and maybe right now you're like, oh, whatever. 7 years old, who gives a fuck? I was young and immature and I was just experimenting. Well, actually, when you were 7, you didn't have those mental resources to tell yourself, oh, it's no big deal. For you, it was the biggest deal of the entire fucking universe. For you, when you were 7, this girl you were gonna marry, you were gonna have children with. Right now, you probably think, well, who gives a fuck, right? Because you're your adult self. You don't care anymore, whatever. Thing is, we all have those mini traumas that we've just suppressed. You go to the grocery store and you lose your father and you don't find him for like 30 minutes and you're lost and you're running around crying. And you go to the cashier like, I lost my daddy, what do I do? It's really traumatic. You think that you got abandoned, that you're gonna lose your loved one forever, right? Because of this traumatic experience, for example, you never wanna be alone again. If you, for example, travel on your own, that you will have this same fear of separation, that you're gonna be by yourself and you'll lose your loved ones just because you ventured a little too far, right? Maybe that's how you got lost in the grocery store, because you walked just a little too far and then you turn around and your dad wasn't here anymore. So then you thought you were gonna lose him or whatever. So this can become really, really traumatic, even if you like barely remember it, whatever. And we all have those mini traumas. So how to actually overcome trauma? You face it. That's it. You face it. That's how you overcome trauma. There's no other way. The reason you're having this trauma, the reason you're having this emotional thing that's inflicting you from the past, it's because your body is telling you something. Your body is telling you, listen to me, I have something to tell you that's really important. And the more you suppress what I have to tell you, the more I'll come back to hit you in the face again when you least expect it. So listen to me. That's what the body's telling you. Listen to me. And if you deny what this body is trying to tell you by escaping, by watching television, going on your phone, distraction that are endless, then the body will come back and knock from the back door again and tell you, listen to me, listen to me. I have been traumatized. I have this emotional trauma in me. Listen to me. It could be, doesn't have to be from childhood. This trauma could be recent. Maybe you even got traumatized last week, last month, last year when you broke up with your ex-girlfriend. That's real trauma right here. And because of that breakup, you believe maybe you will never be loved again or stuff like that, because you thought this girl was the only girl that was gonna love me and now she's gone. Things like that. Maybe it's not just from your childhood. Maybe it's right now. You have some right now from very recent. And it's not true that, oh, it's all about children trauma. It's all about when you were a child. A lot of it, yes, but some of it can be recent too. If it's too hard to dig down and remember the childhood traumas, remember the recent ones. Remember the recent ones. And I'm not telling you that you have to reconstruct memory and try to remember things that you don't even remember. Heard of those therapies of remembering a memory that you've just forgotten, and they just recreate a memory that never existed because their mind is trying to come up with something, and then they believe that they were abused as a child while that's actually all false or whatever. And there were crazy stories of that, of like a girl that believed her father abused him for years, and then she just didn't remember, and she went on this like memory type of therapy thing, and then they brought up memories that were not even real, and only 10 years later she's like, oh, sorry dad, I was wrong this whole time. No, I don't want you to recreate memories that never existed. I'm just trying to tell you right now, are they like one thing or two that you kind of remember, that you were made fun of when you were younger, that you were shamed for? You know, those are all mini traumas that we all have. Try to remember these. The implicit conclusion of those traumas, be very careful, but what happens is you believe that you don't deserve love, that you'll be abandoned, that you don't deserve to think for yourself, you don't deserve to be yourself, you don't deserve to go for what you want, you don't deserve women in your life, you don't deserve the opposite sex in your life, you don't deserve attention, you don't deserve recognition, you don't deserve to express your art, whatever that is. And those traumas just implicitly, it's like a weight on your back that you don't even know you're carrying, but you're carrying it. And to overcome this trauma is to realize, wait, I had this weight on my back the whole time. Fuck this, right? It's to really face it that way. So to overcome trauma, you have to face it. Very simple. You just have to face it. Maybe you have something in your life right now that you can remember that traumatized you. Bring it to the forefront. That's what I want you to remember, no matter how traumatic it was. Maybe it's very hard to bring to the forefront, then just bring a glimpse of it. Bring a glimpse of it. Most people that suffer some sort of trauma, they immediately suppress it. That's just a defense mechanism, nothing wrong against that, right? That's the first reaction. And guess what? With mini traumas, the little things that happen to you, like a little rejection from, let's say, last week, you asked a girl out, she didn't say yes, but whatever, you just went along with your day. You sort of forgot about it, and you just put it in the back of your mind, like whatever, never happened. You know, like just a little rejection. Maybe you called the client said no, and he said some really mean things about you, like, oh, you know what, your business is bullshit, you're just scamming people, how do you dare do this to people? And he hangs up, and you're like, oh, okay, right, oh, whatever, well, fuck, whatever, all right, I'll keep doing my things, whatever. And then you forget about it. That's like a mini trauma, if you want, and it sticks to you, and maybe a month later, you still remember that client. It's just like, fuck, maybe he was right. Just this like this moment of like, maybe he was right, just afflicts you, and it's just traumatizing. And with mini traumas, they're even easier to suppress because you don't even regard them. You don't even acknowledge them. If you got raped or sexually assaulted, or you got in a car accident, whatever, that's a real trauma. And this you can suppress, but because it's so big, then obviously it's not that easy to suppress. It'll come back. For those mini traumas, like they add up and they add up and they add up and they add up inside of you. And it's just this uneasy feeling of like, oh, I just don't feel right. I don't feel right inside of me, right? I don't feel right. There's something missing. Step number 1, be aware of it. Fully aware of it. You know, if I ask you, remember trauma in your life, maybe you don't have anything in mind. You're like, well, I'm a completely healthy person. I'm completely fine, right? Logically, we all like to believe that we're fine. Why do every time that we ask someone, how are you? Why do 99% of people say, I'm fine, how about you? They always say, I'm fine, how about you? I'm fine, how about you? I'm fine, man, I'm fine. But it's just because they're not aware. They're just not aware of what's inside of them. Most people, we all have this dark side that we have not addressed. And if we don't address it, it'll just come back and hit back at you again. That's what you have to face. Some emotions in you. You don't know why you're feeling what you're feeling. Maybe you feel a low-level anxiety at all times, low-level sadness at all times, low-level loneliness at all times, low-level frustration and anger inside of you, just like every second of your life, just like a little bit of like of anger. You don't know why it's there. but it's there. You've never addressed it. So, and then the next day when you meet with your friends and they ask you, how are you feeling? How are you, man? What's up? And you tell them, I'm fine, and you. Every time you say, I'm fine, and you're not actually fine, you're suppressing it every single day. Try to be aware of it right now. Just stop for 10 seconds. I'll do it with you. And focus on the chest and abdominal area and stomach area, right? All here. All here. Even all the way to your throat. Maybe you feel some restriction in your throat because if you're a really shy person, it's probably like in your throat, you have something stuck there, right? Stay with the feeling. For 10 seconds, I'll do it with you. Close your eyes if you want. And breathe through those sensations. Try to see what's inside. Focus here on the chest and stomach area. Do you feel any emotions stirred up? Any emotions of, maybe it's just tenseness. It's just tense inside of you. Don't try to put a name on it. Be like, oh, this is the time I got cheated on, or no, this is the time I got rejected. This is the time I failed. Don't try to put a name on it. Just look at it. And it's probably some sort of, for most people, a bit of tension, a bit of some constriction. Maybe if you're feeling completely free here and like you're completely fine, then I don't know why you're watching this video. You're completely fine. Go run in the field and enjoy your life. But for those that, you know, have those mini traumas, like it's probably in there. Just be aware of it. That's the first step. To be aware of it, not to resist it, not to fight it, but by just shining light on the darkness. Just by doing that, the darkness will eventually open itself up and it'll leave. But first of all, you have to shine the light on it. If you don't have the light on it, then it'll always consume you. Shine the light on it first. Now, after that, you want to allow yourself to experience it, to experience the trauma fully. Now, the trauma is just a sensation, right? It doesn't have to be external. The trauma you created in your own head, right? Of an event that happened, and then your interpretation of it turned into this trauma and suppression of what happened. That's the trauma, really. It's all in your head. The trauma is right here. It's nowhere else. If you feel this sensation of tension, anxiety, anger, it's all in there. It's all in there. This is where the trauma is. The trauma is not in your past. The trauma is not in the event that happened. The trauma is internal. So I want you to accept it fully. Be with it for as long as you need. If you need an entire afternoon to do that, sit in your backyard and just enjoy the sun and feel it, then maybe that's what you have to do. Maybe for an hour, 2 hours, for a long time. Maybe after 5 minutes of bringing awareness to it, you realize that it's just gone. But you have to face it because your body is telling you to face it. You have to be there and present enough, and eventually the feeling will dissolve. I want you to picture this. Imagine you, yourself, as a young child. You're very young, maybe 3 years old, 2 years old even, and you're just crawling around in your backyard. You're playing with a little truck maybe, or a little Barbie, or a little whatever. You're crawling, you're having fun. And then you look around, you don't know where your parents are, and then you think you're alone, that you've been left alone outside, and you start crying and crying and crying because you don't know where your parents are. When you're facing that trauma, I want you to picture yourself like as your own parent. Imagine yourself right now, seeing your younger self playing on the floor, just really crying and in deep pain, and you pick him up or you pick her up if you're a girl, And you tell yourself, your younger self, like, it's okay, I'm here. I was just busy cooking, but I was making some spaghetti for you, I just kind of forgot about you. So sorry about that. I love you though, I love you. And the same way, when you face your traumas, it's the same thing. When you pick up that inner child, as you take care of your inner child and you embrace your inner child, visualize that. And your inner child will keep crying for a bit and they'll eventually stop crying. And then you can tell yourself, it's fine, I'm here for you. I'm here for you for any step of the way. Whenever you feel afraid, unlovable, you feel like I'm not here, I'm actually here. I might not just be here with you right here, right now, because I'm so lost in doing my adult things, but I'm actually here for you. And you tell that to your younger self. And maybe your younger self starts laughing, smiling, hey, 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 yay, thank you, daddy, whatever. And then you can put your younger self back on the ground next to your favorite truck. And you tell him or her, I'll go back to my cooking. I'll go do my adult self, but anytime you need me, I'll be here. Just call me. That's the process of overcoming trauma. Your mini traumas, we all had them. We all had those mini traumas. This is fundamental. So I hope this helped you out, because this really helped me out overcome my own mini traumas. I had a little bit of them, and going to face my inner traumas and my inner demons, it really helped me see perspective on the world, to be a lot more open to the world, to take action, to open myself up to people, to be vulnerable, meet more people, be more authentic, all those things. It's just amazing. First of all, you have to be willing to embrace it, face yourself, right? If you ask the why behind the why behind the why behind the why of why you have a certain emotion, most of it just comes from the fundamental fears of being abandoned, being unlovable, fear of failure, fear of being alone, all those things. It's all fundamental. It's all those fundamental fears. And one thing to add to this exercise, that visualization I help you go through, is what I personally do is that I have a picture of myself when I was a baby on my phone. My phone. So every time I open it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was me when I was younger. Just to remind myself that I have to take care of my inner child in me. And if you have a picture of yourself when you were younger and you look at it and you're like, oh, I was so ugly, whatever, that's just self-hate. That's just, you have some inner demons to face. It means you have to work on yourself. You look at yourself when you were younger like, oh my God, I used to be such a chode, such a loser when I was 16, when I was 14. That's self-hate, right? To overcome those mini traumas, you have to look at yourself when you were younger. Look at yourself and be like, this motherfucker is a shit. This motherfucker, like this baby, like I have this picture of me when I was like 2 years old and I'm like, this motherfucker is the shit. And I tell myself with like full conviction, like, yeah, this baby, man, is fucking badass. And it'll take you time to accept that. But when a baby comes in the world, is there any reason why he deserves what he deserves, right? Why does the baby deserve love? There's no reason why, right? When you come into this world, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to chase after something. You don't have to be meaningful in the world. You already mean something just by being born. Just by being born, you're automatically, people love you. Maybe you're telling yourself, well, when I was younger, man, my parents didn't love me, man. They didn't fucking love me. Well, it's not true, dude. It's not fucking true. It's not true. Your parents loved you. Maybe they didn't know how to express it, but they always did. Maybe the slightest amount of affection they send you, like maybe they fucking beat you, they fucking slap you with a stick. tell you, hey, you have to study hard. And maybe they did that when you were younger, but this was just their way of showing that they love you, because they wanted you to succeed. As weird and twisted as that sound, maybe it sounds weird to you, like, what the fuck, they beat me because they love me? Because they didn't know how else to express it. They didn't know any other ways. That's why. They just didn't have any other way. That's why. So thank you guys. I hope you like this video on how to overcome traumas. If you really like this type of topic, let me know, because I can go really in depth with that. And let me know in the comments what you liked, what you want more of. I'm here to help. So I read every single comment and I reply to every single comment. So leave your comments and I'll read all of them. And the best suggestions, I'll make a video about it. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next vid. Peace.